The Cats of Trefranck. Meow, hello. Welcome to Trefranck Farm on Bodmin Moor. My name's Mrs.Tibbs, Chief Mouse Catcher at Trefranck, at your service. There's 9 of us cats living on the farm at the moment. Over there, that's Fatty. He's worried that people will confuse him with the beast of Bodmin Moor, so he makes up for it by being super soft and cuddly. Hiding in the shadows over there is Misfit. He's a bit of a pirate cat and is always getting into fights. All the others must be out and about working on the farm, apart from Po, who is snoozing away by the fire in the farmhouse. This is Rosehip Barn. My family have lived here alongside the Kempthorne family for over 300 years. There used to be lots of animals living in the barn. Horses, chickens, cows, sheep, dogs, goats, rats, mice, owls, bats and spiders. Now it's just us cats. You see, farming has changed so much recently that the barn has been needed for farming less and less. The horses were the first to leave the barn. My great-grandfather used to tell us stories about the last horse at Trefranck Farm. His name was Cheston, and he was incredibly strong. He used to pull carts of hay and out-plough the fields, and after his day's work he would return to the barn for a trough of tasty meal and a plump bed of hay. Alas, tractors were invented, and Cheston wasn't needed to work in the fields anymore. Next to leave the barn were the families of chickens that lived upstairs. These were kept so that the farmer could sell their eggs. My Grandfather Tibbs, was happy when they left because they were so noisy and smelly. Grandfather Tibbs always used to talk about the grain dryer that used to run in the barn. He says it was the loudest thing that he'd ever heard. Farmers from all around would come to the barn to dry their corn to feed their animals, so the dryer would run all day and all night. Poor Grandfather Tibbs wouldn't get anywhere near enough catnapping done. Next to leave the barn were the cows. Grandfather Tibbs remembers when the farmer would milk each cow by hand, sitting on an upturned bucket. Grandfather Tibbs told me how the cows all had names, and the farmer would call each cow into the shippen one by one to be milked. His favourite cow was called Buttercup. She used to kick the bucket over when she was in a bad mood. Grandfather Tibbs would make sure to stay close when Buttercup was being milked to drink up any spilt milk. When a new cowshed was built at the top of the farm, all the cows moved there. Now the cows have numbers and not names because there are so many of them. Do you think you'd like to be called a number instead of your name? In spring, Grandfather Tibbs used to like helping the farmer with lambing. Over the night shift, he would keep watch over the sheep in the barn and make sure that the poorly lambs were put in the warming box. He told me about one time when Gemma was 8 years old, and she took a little lamb called Loveday and hid her in her wardrobe for a week. The other lambs wondered where Loveday had gone. They only saw her during the day when Gemma let her out to play with the other lambs, but at night she was nowhere to be seen. Not long after the cows moved to the new sheds, the sheep went to join them too. There was much more room up there. Next to go was the old farm sheepdog, Jep. He was moved to a kennel outside the farmhouse, where he still is now. All the cats had a big party that day to celebrate. Jep was always chasing cats, but he was always too slow to catch us. One Christmas Day, 2 white goats, Tinsel and Tanya, arrived in the barn. They had been Christmas presents for the girls Gemma and Pippa. My dad, Tibbs, told me how when they first arrived he was asleep in the hay rack, and when he woke up they were both nibbling at his whiskers. The goats didn't stay long and were soon moved to another building. After Tinsel and Tanya left, the builders came in to change the barn into a new home for Gemma and a space to dance and make things. Us cats helped the builders by chasing all the mice and the rats out of the barn. The Tibbs family pride ourselves in being the best mice catchers on Bodmin Moor. My great-grandfather taught my grandfather, who taught my dad, who taught me. The builders made such a racket that the family of bats and Alan the barn owl left not long after the rats and mice. But at night time, when everyone's asleep, Alan and the bats can still be seen visiting the barn. They like to see what's going on, I think. Shh! After the horse, the chickens, the cows, the sheep, the dog, the goats, the rats, the mice, the owl, the bats, and the builders had all left Rosehip Barn, Gemma could move in, and then the artists and dancers and the children came. More friends for me to play with. I wonder what new adventures they will get up to, and what stories I can tell my kittens when I'm older.